turn now to politics editor for the New York Times Magazine, Charles Homans, in a new piece for this week's issue. Charles takes a look at how Americans have often ignored the implications of the country's arsenal of privately owned guns, asking if the January 6th attack on the Capitol will change that. Also with us, executive editor of NewYorker.com, David Rohde. He's out with a new piece titled Biden's Vital but Fraught Battle Against Domestic Terrorism. And David writes in part this, quote, "A current senior law enforcement official told me that a mandate from Biden and Congress to crack down on domestic extremist violence is welcome. But the official, who asked not to be named, cautioned that the federal and state law enforcement officials have no legal authority and little desire to be drawn into targeting specific ideologies or type of speech. Quote, our concern is the violence. Our concern is the conduct. Remember, hate speech is protected speech, the official said. You don't want law enforcement overreach. We've learned that lesson. The official added that elected leaders could play a central role in combating domestic extremism. Quote, a lot depends on our political leadership if there's an effort to bring down some of the temperature. David, thank you so much for being with us. Those quotes remind me of a piece that I read soon after January 6th, and they were listing the types of organizations that the federal government was going to start paying a closer watch to, and listed among all of these frightening groups that we've all been talking about were anti-abortion protesters. And I sat there thinking, got to be careful about mixing apples and oranges there. Yes, violent anti-abortion protesters, yes, they are there. But again, there is a real danger of people moving from the actions to the political speech. Talk about that.
Yeah, that's the challenge here. I completely agree with you. And it's sort of back to American basics. Illegal conduct and violence is totally unacceptable. That FBI official and many others are eager to enforce the law, but there's the danger of overkill, of sort of smearing groups. And I think the line that person drew about, we need the political class to bring down the rhetoric, is the right one. But if we overreact to this, it's, arrested and involved in the riot, the insurrection at the Capitol. But we can't have excessive secrecy, or I agree with you, the smearing of certain groups that have not engaged in violence.
Yeah, David, Susan Del Percio here. The one thing I'm curious about is it seems there's a very fine line between an armed protester and a domestic terrorist these days. And it's hard to define which one is which, especially when you hear some of the stories the case of the Michigan governor, having been targeted for kidnapping and death. And when you look at the capitals that had to be boarded up because they were worried about, people coming with firearms because they're not banned, how do we start tackling that more definitively and really calling people who they are?
I think this is the challenge, and this is why I use the word fraught. It's legal under Michigan law for, and in some states for people to bring weapons, to protest outside of state capitals, and I think even inside them. So the political class needs to start, I think, drafting new laws to sort of declare when is, appropriate to have a weapon and when it isn't. And I think the political class needs to talk about the third problem here. It is weaponry, and what's going on. That's a big issue. Disinformation. We have a crisis of information in this country. The earlier segment about Marjorie Taylor Greene, rampant conspiracy theories. So I think that we need new laws about speech in the digital age.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.